I think I've come to the realization that that one interaction, that one brief moment in my life when I was like 10 or something years old. I think I've shared this story plenty of times on the podcast before, but I'll give you a brief synopsis. Essentially, when I was around 10 or 11 in the area that I was living in, I was, I guess, somewhat popular at that time with the kids in my local area. And then some new kid moved in next door to my area. And this new kid, at first, we weren't really friends. It's a typical story, right? We kind of didn't get along the first time he kind of moved in, but later on we became friends. Well, for whatever reason, that new kid, when he moved in, he then started hanging around with the friends that I was hanging around with. And for whatever reason, they all decided that I was surplus to friendship requirements. And they kind of stopped knocking for me. That's what happened back in the day, right? People would knock at your door so you could come out, or you'd hear them playing and then you go out. So they were either avoiding playing out near my house, or they were just avoiding knocking for me when they'd play out. So I kept having to chase them to find them. And I remember one particular day, I was trying to find them, and I couldn't find them. And I was going to all the spots. I went to the park benches. I went to the swing. I went to the little bit in the back of the bushes. I went to this bit. I went to this bit. I was looking everywhere to find them. Then I finally found them at one of the other boys' houses. Not the neighbor, but the other group. I found them in that driveway. And I remember when I turned up, they kind of were like, oh, you know? They all kind of collectively rolled their eyes when I turned up. And then eventually, one of the boys in the group, one that I was friends with, basically said to me, we don't want to be friends with you. That guy as well, funny enough, his name was Thomas, which is like my middle name, which is fucking weird. But he was like, yeah, we don't want to be friends with you. Something along that kind of lines. I remember just hearing, yeah, we don't really want to be friends with you. Could you just leave us alone type of thing? And again, it's my group of friends. It's like I'm the one that brought those guys together. And then I'm the one that kind of, because in my area that I was in, for whatever reason, the kids were a bit splintered. So those kids on my side that were together and those kids on the other side weren't, but I kind of brought everyone together through football and just hanging around and being silly and being my positive, happy, wappy self. And then this neighbor kid moves in who I don't get along with at first, but then later on we become friends. And then he then goes and replaces me. No, I guess not replaces me, but he takes over the group. I don't think it's even a replacement. And then they all decide collectively they don't want to be my friend anymore, which was weird. And I remember when he said that to me, and I don't know why I remember this memory. I have this memory like vivid in my mind. And I remember him saying we'd only be friends. I didn't tell you the rest of it. I just like I was just going red, right? I was going red and I was getting so angry. I remember the rage that was filling me. I literally felt a compulsion to pick up a brick and just hit the guy over the head with. I think that's the first time I realized that I might have a bit of a temper, you know? Because I think the first reaction that I had was like embarrassment. The first initial reaction was like shame and embarrassment. And as soon as I felt that inkling of like shame and embarrassment, I went to get violent. Like I wanted just to stop it and like get violent and just like cave this guy's head in with a brick. Because I didn't want to feel that feeling of being embarrassed and being felt like, you know, being belittled. I think that's the main reasons why I also avoid like hanging out in certain places. That's why I don't really respond well to like people that lick ass and stuff. Because my initial reaction, my response will always going to be violence. It's not going to be words, which is not good, especially in the scene that I'm in. No one's ever going to look at you that way. You're going to be judged differently, right? And there's also the angry black man archetype. You don't want to ever do that. So I purposely avoid certain situations because I know if I get in it, I'm not going to have an argument. I'm going to want to fight. And no one wants to fight these days. No one should want to fight these days, right? It's just fucking crazy. Especially me at my age. If I start fighting, I'm going to go to prison. You know what I mean? It's not going to end well for anyone. So I remember feeling really angry, but then just running home like a scene in an American movie. I ran all the way home. I ran home, smashed through the door. Imagine African house. That's not allowed, right? I smashed through the door, slam it, and run all the way upstairs in my room. No, don't even go run in my room. I run into my little brother's room. I'd run to my little brother's room. They shared a room. I had my own room. But I'd run into theirs because it's the first one open. And I just jump on the bed and start bawling my eyes out on the bed with my kind of head in my hands. Yeah. I'm fucking crying, right? I'm on my bed crying. Like, I don't think I've cried that hard ever since. And you know what's really traumatic too, actually, when I think about it? This might be the reason why I don't cry in general. That might be the reason why I'm so like numb and I'm cold and shit. And when something really, when something tragic happens in society, I usually laugh at it and mock it and, try and use humor and don't really connect to it. I don't, nothing really like troubles me that much, which is kind of disturbing and, a bit sadistic, who knows? But I wonder if like the lack of crying now is because I cried about something so trivial and like meaningless back then, you know? I was really sobbing. Like my heart was broken. I was 10 years old. I can remember just like crying. Like, you know, when you cry so hard, you start getting a headache. You know that? You start getting a migraine. You're crying so hard. Like snot coming out, like bawling my eyes out on the bed. I'm bawling my eyes out. And then I remember my dad coming into the room. And he's like, what the fuck happened, son? He's so concerned. What the fuck? What if I happened? What? And then I finally tell him what happened, right? Through like cries and like, through bogeys and like, you know, hyperventilating. I finally get it out and tell him what happened. Basically, my friends said they don't want to be friends with me anymore. And I remember the look of disgust on his face when I said that. He was so disappointed. He's like, what the fuck are you crying about that? Like, pull your socks, like kind of, you know, typical African, you know, parent response. Pull your fucking socks up and fix up. What are you crying that for? That's dumb. Don't cry about it. Who cares about friends or something along those kind of lines? And I remember quickly thinking, oh shit. He might be right. Yeah. But it was just the lack of, but I guess all parents are like that. I think it was the lack of, what's it? Observation. The lack of acknowledging my feelings at that moment. That I remember feeling, oh shit. All right, cool. I guess I should just pull my socks up, right? I guess I should just like wipe my tears away and just keep it moving. Like it's not that big of a deal. But I remember kind of being hurt at the lack of like acknowledgement of why I'm crying. Yes, it was done, but just the lack of like, hey, I know it's upsetting. That's really sad. Just, you know, sitting with me or whatever. It was more like he was disappointed I was crying, like upset I was crying. In the same way, like African parents, which is good, Rowley. When African parents, when you get involved in your first fight, like I remember when we got involved in our first fight, right in the area. When you get involved in your first fight and you lose, and you go back home and you got your eyes all lumped up or something or whatever's happened, you got scratch on your arm and your face. The first thing your African parents do is like they get upset that you come back home and you lost. So they literally tell you to go back out there and fight again, right? Which usually doesn't end well because you're already tired, you're demoralized, right? Sometimes it can work. They give you a pep talk and you can kind of go out there like, "Arr!" Right? Come here. You know, you can be all semantic like that. But usually it doesn't work well. But it does kind of toughen you up. But I remember at that particular moment thinking, fuck, man, that hurt. But then one of the lasting things I remember saying to myself was, I'm never going to let somebody let me down like that again. And I honestly think, legitimately think, however many years after the fact, that is the main reason why I don't have any friends now. Why I purposely like pull myself away from groups. And I say this with like being conscious that I made decisions in my life to not be around people, like on purpose. Even though people have wanted to be my friends, they wanted to like take the relationship from like, hey, we're just like, you know, cordial. We see each other here. We're associates. Because you could always do that, right? It happens at work. When you're in a working environment, it always happens. There's always one or two people that you meet at work that start off as being your colleagues, and then they kind of level up, you know, through different things. Maybe you go on holiday together, you go out to eat, you go to this, you go to that, you sleep over, and they become your friends, right? They level up. But whenever that's happened, whenever there's opportunity to level up, I just pull away. I retreat. Always. I do it all the fucking time. And I legitimately think the reason why I do that, right? The reason
therapy, my G.
Oh yeah, big up. Maybe. Big up King Bayu. But I honestly think the reason why I do that is because of that one time. It's because of that one time in my life where the kids in my area essentially rejected me. I honestly think that's the reason why I have continually gone out of my way to avoid being friends with anybody. Because I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I remember like when I was like, I don't know, what was it, 18 or something? I think that was probably the time I had the biggest group of friends I had, around 18 to like 22-ish. Or maybe not, 18 to 25-ish probably. The biggest group of friends I had. And that was also the time that I kind of got into like different little scenes and subcultures. And also the time that I was like out and about promoting parties and shit, right? And really being a city boy. But I remember there were different groups along that kind of timeline that I was a part of that I purposely like pulled myself away from. All the time. I just kind of ran away. Whenever it was kind of time to level up the relationship, I retreated. I went fucking ghost, you know? I think I've been the originator of ghosting people, just like going, and even ghosting, just like, you know, just doing my own thing and kind of enjoying my own company. But I'm also wondering now, having done some observation, I wonder if do I actually enjoy my own company? Like, am I my own best friend? Am I really a lone wolf? Or have I conditioned myself to accept that because I don't want to be heartbroken again? And have a situation where someone says, hey, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Because that shit, bro, like, that shit hurts more than a breakup. I don't know. Is anybody... Yeah, that's a weird thing. No one's actually broken up with me. I've usually done the breaking up. But I'd imagine... in my personal opinion, I think when people break up with you as friends, it hurts way more than a relationship. I don't know why it is. I don't know why it is, but that rejection from like a friend hurts way more than the relationship, which is probably why I've kind of gone out my way to avoid any of those type of friendships. But to be fair to me, I still have managed to make it work. It's not ideal. I don't think I'm the most evenly killed person out there, but I don't think many of us are. But I think as long as I acknowledge that I do those things and I don't try to, like, you know, gas myself up or convince myself that that isn't the case and that I am perfectly, you know, normal and it's everyone else's problem and I did everything correct, I did nothing wrong, in DSP's words, fuck DSP kind of thing. That's kind of a good thing. It's a little bit of a start. But I have observed that. I was thinking to myself, wow, man, like, I remember with the BNTL cruise precisely, that was the first time I went to like a lad's holiday when I was around 18. We went to New York. One of the best holidays ever. The first time we basically did a pilgrimage to Supreme, basically, right? When Supreme was on that old location. We did a pilgrimage over there and it was fucking phenomenal. We went to a New York thing, so we got to meet Aaron Bondaroff, we got to meet the Mighty Healthy people. Like, it was a sick time, right? But I remember that group of people looking back recently, and a bunch of them are still friends now. Maybe the majority of those guys, the ones who haven't passed away, R.I.P. Julian, they're still around now. R.I.P. Julian, R.I.P. Josh. Those guys are still friends. I might be one of the only one or two who's not in that circle, you know? And I know what happened. After we went to New York and we came back, I kind of like purposely like dipped and kind of did my own thing, you know? I didn't really hang out with them anymore. And I remember they kept inviting me to things. I'd go to the 1 or 2 things, but then I'd miss 6. Then I'd go to one thing, then I'd miss 5. Then I'd go to one thing, then I'd miss 7. And then over time, people will keep inviting you. But if you keep flaking, if you keep no-showing, they're just going to stop inviting you. And then suddenly, your phone ain't ringing anymore. Suddenly, you're not getting DMs or texts. You're not doing it either because you're proud and you have your ego. And then boom, distance. And then as time goes on, you move around, life, job, whatever, you get busy, relationships, and then, you know, you haven't spoken to that person in 6 years, 10 years, 12 years. You know what I mean? It's pretty wild, especially when you think about how often and how tied to the hip you were with these people. So it's intense. It's really insane. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm laughing because I sound fucking mental. I really do. But I honestly was thinking the other day, I was like, I don't know why, I was just questioning my preconceived ideas of myself. I was like, hold on, am I actually like this like lone wolf guy? I do everything by myself, soldier, or am I just damaged goods? Am I just damaged goods? And I'm literally trying to protect myself from that damage again. So I'm like keeping myself away from people and not being a part of groups and not being in, you know, not being in group chats, not being in groups, not going to, like, I hate groups. I hate group shit. I hate group runs. I hate group workouts. I hate everything to do with groups. I fucking despise them. And that might be the reason why, because I was rejected from a group at 10 years old. Could you imagine that? Like, that one meaningless fucking thing has resulted in years of just like solo raving. Honestly, I swear, man, us humans, bro, us humans are absolutely tapped. Oh no, not us, me. I am fucking tapped. I swear to God, the most tapped individual you'll ever find. But you guess what? It makes for good content. It makes for good content. Like and describe. Big up 4 extra. Big up 4 extra. Oh, god damn. All right, cool.